Welcome to Let's Talk Brock.
Okay, welcome to this episode of the Let's Talk Brock podcast. I'm your host, Liam Nielsen, and joining me today is Rob Terpstra, a former Brock University student, as well as the former editor-in-chief at the Brock Press. Rob is currently a journalist, editor, photojournalist, and author, and he has a whole bunch of different experiences from his time at Brock, as well as his time in the journalism industry that he's going to share with us today. So, Rob, thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks, Liam. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, very excited for this chat. And if we want to jump right into it, I want to get into your sort of experiences in the journalism industry later on, because I know you have a lot to share there. And if I'm not mistaken, you're heading out pretty soon, right? You're flying to, was it Scotland?
Yeah, I'm headed to Edinburgh, the capital of Scotland, on Tuesday evening. So yeah, a couple more days in Canada to visit the folks and friends and family, and yeah, looking forward to getting back out there again.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, I know you're all around the world for your work, but I want to back it up a little bit at first and just talk about your original decision to come to Brock. So what was that sort of like for you once you were in high school, making that post-secondary decision, or if you transferred from anywhere? Basically, what led you to Brock initially? What made it a good fit for you?
Yeah, absolutely. My mom's an alumna of Brock as well, and so I first attended Brock, I think in, I suppose, like 1983 or 84. She was taking a whole bunch of computer science classes, and she graduated in 87 and 97 with her BSc honors in computer science. And so when I was sick in grade school, I went to school in St. Catharines. I had the choice either of going to the babysitters or tagging along with my mom to Brock. And so I often made the decision to go to the lectures hall at Brock. And so I kind of fell in love with the campus, the whole experience. I mean, eating chips in class was just like, my mind was blown, because that you couldn't do in grade school.
Don't even have to ask to go to the bathroom.
I mean, I don't think you need a key or, permission, probably just from your mom. But yeah, so we were St. Catharines natives, so we had always been in the region. And I had gone to high school in St. Catharines as well. And yeah, we just made the decision that Brock was the best fit, just in terms of cost and location and ability to live at home for the first couple of years. And yeah, so I enrolled, I applied at Brock in grade 12, and this was when OAC was still grade 13 in Ontario high schools. And that was the ultimate decision to go to Brock, was just a cost measure. And it had some great sciences programs that I started in originally.
There you go. Very cool sort of personal connection dating back to quite a long time before you even started as an undergrad at Brock. But when you were an undergrad at Brock,
yeah.
What were some of the sort of experiences that you pursued sort of outside the classroom? Because that's something you always hear, is like you need to get involved outside the classroom, sort of build your network, build those experiences up. So what was that looking like for you at the time?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, class was the whole reason, or education or schooling was the primary reason to go to Brock in the first place. But it was, I think during orientation week or O week, there were a number of clubs that were set up just outside the student center where it is today. And I knew that, even talking with my friends and family, they said, it's great that you're going to university, Rob, but you also want to be able to enjoy the time and experience while you're there as well. So, just make sure you're not cramming or in the library or in lecture halls or seminar rooms the entire time you're there. Make sure that you also, go and make some friends and go to the gym. And so then I ended up playing badminton for the intramurals. And then because I had played badminton in high school as well, I joined the badminton varsity team. And I was there for 3 years. I was not the greatest, but it was a lot of fun, the team camaraderie and the various tournaments that we traveled to in Carleton and Western and Waterloo. So yeah, badminton was a good outlet for, I mean, when you're hitting around the birdie, it's a good stress buster, and great exercise, and a lot of friends and the athletic department was always a nice little secondary home for me outside the classroom, for sure.
Mhm. Absolutely. So you're sort of spread around a whole bunch of different roles at Brock as a student. So that's really great. And it's something that you, I guess, joined, from what I remember, later in your time at Brock, was the Brock Press.
Yeah, that's right.
Like I mentioned at the top, you used to be the editor in chief. But how did you originally come to be involved with the Brock Press, and any memorable experiences at your time there that you'd like to share?
Sure, yeah. I mean, the Brock Press, I think it was the best part of my time at Brock, for sure. We had a great bunch of editors. It almost enveloped my life to a certain degree, where, I mean, I eat, breathed, and slept the Brock Press, and just dreamed and thought every almost waking hour about writing and editing and getting to the next on-campus event, whether it was at the Bob Davis Gymnasium or out on the football pitch or lacrosse or rugby fields. And I think as well, you, Liam, that you had kind of branched off, beyond your sports editor position at the press into, like the arts and culture events around campus. We'd had a ton of news items that were happening at Brock too. So yeah, I mean, I started with the press in 2002. I was still a student. I think I was in third year at the time, and I had always had a love for sports, and it was around, I think it must have been February or March, that the annual March Madness or college basketball tournament was taking place in the U.S. And so I said, I just shot off a message to the sports editor at the time, who was became my mentor and my best friend. He preceded me as sports editor in chief. And I just mentioned to him, do you take articles from students? And yeah, he said yes, and then I suppose the rest is history. I joined his sports department shortly thereafter, starting in 2003, and then we, for the next 4 years, I think I spent 15, 16, 20 hours in the newsroom every day, which was a great enriching, rewarding experience. And I'm sure my professors and seminar leaders did not take kind to my putting the press perhaps as my primary focus during that time.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's definitely a huge commitment. And it's definitely, I'm sure you would say, it sort of developed the journalism bug that you've now sustained into your career. And just really quickly, 2002 March Madness, that would have been Maryland, right? They were the champs?
I think you probably are right. You probably know your college basketball better than me. I think 2002
I was testing you.
2003. Yeah, it might have been the Terrapins for sure. I know Kentucky was always my team, but you could be right.
There you go. Was seeing if you still remembered. But yeah, so like I was saying, like the Brock Press, hugely influential experience for you, and it's led to your current career path. So
Right.
what was the sort of evolution there from Brock into journalism, and sort of the roles that you have today?
Yeah. I started with the sports department in 2003. I was the assistant and then the editor for 2 years. And then Steve became editor in chief that third year I was with the press. And so I decided, I mean, that the editorship was open for the next year, for 2006. And I applied, and it was the only applicant, so I got the job, thankfully. And for 2006 and 2007, my last day at the press was, I believe, April 30th, 2007. And that last year, we had a fantastic run with the press, tons of advertising revenue. I think we had 10,000 copies at the time printed each week. This was still at the time when the Brock Press actually was published in paper and delivered around campus. And so that final year, I just started throwing out CVs and applications worldwide, because I loved working in Canada and Ontario, and going to the Jays games in Toronto, or the Vanier Cup in Hamilton and Toronto. But I guess my real love for exploring the world or for journalism was, outside the confines of North America. And so I was able to get a job, landed starting in Kathmandu in Nepal in 2007. I think it was in June or July. And so immediately out of school, when I finished with the press, I was able to start my position as I guess I was some kind of intern at the Rising Nepal in Kathmandu. And for the next 15 years, that's where I was able to start with my love for travel, the world, journalism, and pretty thankful that I suppose all started with Brock and the Brock Press.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So is that 15 years in Nepal? Is that what you said?
That was just the start of my 15 years in the career of journalism. I think I was only in Nepal for about 4 or 5 months in 2007.
Okay. So not even close to 15 years.
Yeah, that's where I got my start for sure.
Yeah. Okay. And what are some other places that you've been able to travel, and some subjects and events that you've had to cover as a journalist over the past 15 years?
Yeah, I've been pretty fortunate to get to a ton of events worldwide. I've been now to 2 Olympics, both in Atlanta and '96. That was more of a fan thing as a teenager. And then I covered the 2018 Pyeongchang Olympics in South Korea.
Mm-hmm.
And I've now reported from the United Nations in New York City twice, in both 2012 and 2018. That was Obama. President Obama was the president in 2012, and Trump in 2018. The UN a couple times, World Economic Forums in Mexico City, Lagos, Nigeria, and in Myanmar in Southeast Asia. I keep a list actually of all the countries that I've traveled to and worked in. And I've now traveled to 115 countries. I guess there's about 193 officially in the UN, but I've now traveled to about, I guess, half of them. And seen some pretty amazing events, sporting-wise, political-wise. Very, very fortunate for sure.
Absolutely. I can't even imagine how many stories you might have to share. Unfortunately, we probably don't have time to get to all of those today, but if there's one standout, like if you could only pick one, maybe one story that you've written that really resonates for you, or one sort of thing that you've seen in one of these countries you've been to, what would it be?
Yeah. That's a very difficult question to answer.
Sure.
I'll try to get the answer for sure, but I was working in Shanghai in 2010 in China. I was working at a business magazine there, and there was an opening in Cairo in Egypt as the deputy managing editor for a magazine. It's called Business Today Egypt. And so I applied there and I got the position. So I was flying. My brother wanted me to come home for a couple days. So I made the mistake of taking a trans-Pacific flight from Shanghai to Toronto, to my hometown in St. Catharines, saw the family for about 4 or 5 days, and so did that before starting work in Egypt. So I flew back from Toronto, I think Anchorage, Tokyo, and then like Moscow, Cairo. That was not recommended for anybody, but
I can't imagine why.
I mean, I didn't really honestly know what day it was for a good week. I was just so tired. I mean, my time zones were all mixed up. But I was able to start work in Cairo on January 22nd, 2011. And then January 25th, 2011, that's when the revolution in Egypt started. And so I guess I was in the right place at the right time. I suppose that I didn't know what time it was.
Sure.
But I was there. I was there for the next 2.5 years covering the revolution in Egypt at Tahrir Square and all the events that unfolded that kind of launched the Arab Spring in Egypt and Libya and the Middle East. And we were just hammering out stories every day, every week for our magazine. And just to be at the right place at the right time in that point of history in the Middle East was I mean, incredibly rewarding, and very fortunate again that I was there at that time to be able to report on it.
Yeah, I think that definitely qualifies as a big event. Very memorable, very influential. So that's a really good answer.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's next for you? You mentioned you're going to Scotland pretty soon here, but sort of down the road, what's looking like it's on the horizon for you?
Sure. Sometimes I have a plan not to have a plan, but that's, I mean, sometimes not helpful. But I kind of have like the basic framework of like you mentioned, going to Scotland. There's a big event on January 25th, which, and I guess going back to that date, in Scotland, there's the Burn Supper, which is an annual event in Scotland where men and women get together in pubs and restaurants in various cities in Scotland, and we eat haggis, we drink Guinness, we debate, we recite poetry from, Robbie Burns is the poet, national poet from Scotland. So I've never been to a Burn Supper, and I do have some Scottish heritage on my mom's side, but I'm looking forward to, having my inaugural Burn Supper in Scotland. And then, going to a couple of Rangers football matches in Glasgow. That's the team I support in the Scottish Premier League. And I mean, the plan to have a plan, I suppose, just going around Europe, watching some of the events. There's the Champions League coming up.
Mm-hmm.
I think the World Cup in Qatar, I'm going to be applying for media accreditation to cover that tournament. And I suppose the world is my oyster. I've not yet explored every nook and cranny of those other countries I've not yet traveled to, but
almost.
Almost there. I mean, 50% is a pass if you're using it in the context of the university system. But very much looking forward to what 2022 and I suppose 2023 is going to offer.
A lot of exciting stuff for sure. That's really good. Tying it back to Brock here, just before we head out, if you can recall one of your favorite places on Brock's campus, or maybe like a standout memory for you during your time as a Brock student, what would it be? I'm sure the place you saw most was the Brock Press office, but maybe a standout sort of memory or place or location for you.
Yeah, that's a very good question. There's tons of places. I had met you a couple days ago at the campus, and that was the first time I had traveled back to the campus, I think in almost 8-9 years. And understandably, some of the buildings I had not known were there. So that was a good surprise. And I saw like is it a herd of deer, or I guess that's the name of deer.
Sure.
But
we'll go with it.
Yeah, herd I think is the right word. I've been back to the campus about 4 or 5 times now in the past 2 or 3 weeks that I've been home in Canada. And there's like a family or herd of 11 or 9 deer that just kind of hang out around the campus. And so that's my big memory from like 2021, 2022. But going back to when I was a student and at the press, we always, similar to like badminton, just get out the stress. My friends and my editors on the ed board would go to the football intramural pitch and or soccer. I call it soccer when I'm in Canada, football when I'm in everywhere else in the world.
Sure, you have to translate, of course.
Yeah. So we actually would play or field a team in the football or soccer intramurals every year. And one year we went, I don't think we went undefeated in the regular season, but then we had a 4-match playoff and at the old intramural pitch. I guess it's behind the CFBU radio station. There's a big, large parking lot there now. And I guess my most memorable experience, to make a long story shorter, is our intramural winning football team. That would have been 2006. And our team won 4 straight matches. We won 3 of those in a penalty kick or penalty shootout. and my team consisted a lot of the press members, and so the winning moment was, of course, when in the final we had another penalty kick, 3 kickers aside. I finally exercised the demons and scored the winning penalty kick into the side of the net, and we won the intramural championship for that year. And we all celebrated as members of the press, and just a great year to kind of end off with a championship trophy for sure, or championship T-shirt.
Yeah, it can't get much better than a game winner, that's for sure.
Absolutely, yeah.
But like you mentioned, I mean, just you're going to meet so many different people at Brock, from whether it be intramurals or you were involved with Busu or Brock Press, or you're just going to meet people from your classes, your residents. They're going to come from all over, and you're just going to have just a really great community feel at Brock. And then, like you mentioned as well, with the wildlife, we have the Bruce Trail and the Niagara Escarpment right in our backyard. So it's a beautiful sort of view location. You'll always see deer on campus and other wildlife as well. So that's great, Rob. Thank you very much for joining. Did you have anything else you wanted to add before we sign off here?
No, I think we hit all the main points, and I guess wanted to just piggyback your comment about, I mean, Brock University is being just more than a university. It's almost, like a hometown community for me. I've spent many a time or hours just walking along the Niagara Escarpment and along those trails, and playing football or badminton or tennis or rugby on all the places. So it's very important outside of the classrooms to enjoy the time that you're in St. Catharines or Thorold or Welland, and take in everything that university experience is all about. And I think that will be the most rewarding part of your time at Brock, is to also be a member of the community outside of your classroom. So yeah, I think that's my biggest message. Yeah.
I would definitely echo that 100%. I agree with everything you said there. And that's going to wrap it up for today's show. But Rob, Absolutely. Thank you very much for joining once again, and take care. Okay.
Yeah. Appreciate it, Liam. Take care of yourself as well.
And enjoy Scotland.
I will. Aye.
Thanks for joining us. If you have any questions, you can contact us at brocku.ca/discover/contact.